Yo, what's up guys, my name is Mr. Freeze2244 and welcome to another Hitman Freelancer update. In this video I'll be going through the changes that the developers have made for the Freelancer mode. So they've taken on board some feedback that we've been given from the community. All the players have got access to the closed technical test. We've been all given them feedback and they've acted upon it, and they've made some changes to Hitman Freelancer when it comes to release next week on January 26th. And I'm happy to say, in my feedback video of Freelancer, they've actually taken on board some of the things that I've actually mentioned in that video, which is really cool. I wish I have the video clips saved on my my editing software to actually take those little clips and show you compared to this blog post I'm about to read out. But unfortunately, very unfortunately, I cleaned out my my video backlog kind of thing to free up some memory. And yeah, unfortunately that video got deleted along with it. So the only way to get reference from that now is YouTube itself. So you can check that out video. I'll leave that link to the description. You can check that out and then watch this video if you'd like. And you can make the comparison between the changes and what my suggestions were. But I'll go through it one by one. I'll leave the blog post to this particular changes in the description as well. I'll leave all the important stuff on the screen, of course. And you can follow along with me. So let's get started. So from the top it says, in early November we opened up Hitman Freelancer to a closed technical test to gain valuable feedback and insights from our players. Today we want to share some of the key changes from what you may have seen in the closed technical test compared to how the mode will launch. First thing they've made a change to is the Merce's economy. To improve the immersion around the economy, we changed the Merce's amounts to seem more valuable by adding 2 zeros to all values. For example, 5 Merces is now 500 Merces. Now I don't know if I mentioned it in the video, but I definitely mentioned this in a live stream when I was live streaming the Freelancer. I definitely mentioned this because I said things just didn't seem as valuable as what they would be like in real life. They should be more representative of what it would cost in real life, because obviously these high-tech weapons are going to cost a lot of money, you know. So when you're buying something for, like, I don't know, 80 Merces, it just didn't really fit the whole, you know, you're a hitman, you're getting so much money for all this stuff. You're getting 30 Merces, for example, was like sort of like a, if you complete most of the objectives. It just doesn't really seem like a lot of cash. So now it would be like 300 or 500. So you could basically, what they could have done really is change that to, they could have added 5 zeros, so it could have been 100,000. So 5 could have been 500,000, for example. That would have been probably more accurate. But then again, how do you balance that when you're buying a screwdriver, for example? So I understand why they've made it. So, but I definitely did mention that in a live stream when I was doing this, a closed technical test. So maybe they was watching, I don't know. Next one is the prestige, objective, communication and quality of life. Freelancer has a help section called Field Manuals in the Intel menu page. Here you can find a description of the available prestige objectives and the specific rules for completing them. This information is quite hidden, so we have dedicated a wall set piece to show that information up front, so that the players can plan ahead. We also added an option to reselect the chosen prestige objective, so that it's possible to change your mind when considering the choices between objectives, locations and gear in the planning phase of the safe house. That's a good change, I agree with that, because sometimes you'd select your little mission and the prestige objectives are all laid out there, but if the mission didn't line up with what you want to do for the objectives, then you could obviously change the prestige objectives. So that is a good change, a positive change, and I quite like it. And it goes, it makes it more clearer to what those prestige objectives, the exact requirements for those objectives, that all what you have to do. Because I think you had to go in a bunch of menus to actually figure it out. So I'm glad they've made that a little bit more clear. That's a good quality of life change in my opinion. Good. Now this next one is something I mentioned in my feedback video. It was like the insurance system kind of thing where you can buy back your weapons. It says added persistent item version of select Freelancer tools. We have chosen to stick to our design around the rules for losing Freelancer tools to alleviate the frustration that some players feel around losing their favourite gear in Freelancer tool category. We have made new versions of these tools that are known as collector's editions that can be purchased and stored persistently on gear walls. To phrase this in a different way, a player can choose to buy a rare lockpick that will not be lost in the campaign fail, for instance. We also added some UI tags on the Freelancer tool items so that a player can always see if an item will be lost on a mission or is bound to the campaign. So with these collector's items, for example, you basically won't lose them. So once you've purchased them, you're not going to lose them. You'll always get it, whether you fail or not, which is good. But then in a way, you could say, does it kind of spoil the whole roguelike thing? You could look at it from both ways, but you don't have to take these items. You don't have to buy them, do you? But I think it's a good, because it opens up the options that you've got there. So if you want to go balls to the wall and actually just take the regular items and then put that risk at, put those items at risk, you can do. But you can buy these collector's editions, which is basically essentially what I was saying. You've sort of, your items are then insured that you don't lose them then. So it's basically like an insurance system, pretty much what I said in my feedback video. So again, they've been listening to a lot of feedback in the community, and I appreciate that. Next section is about the balancing of everything. It says playtime, overall difficulty, and XP progression. In general, we were happy about the metrics we saw from the closed technical test about playtime, the overall difficulty, and the XP progression. These matched our expectations quite well, so we didn't tweak the balancing around these areas much. The game mode is deliberately balanced and takes inspiration from roguelike mechanics to rely on using consequence and add adrenaline-infused tension to the gameplay. I didn't think that needed a XP progression. I thought it was perfectly fine as well. So, at least, yeah, I don't recall me making any kind of point about this. So I think, yeah, overall, I think the balancing was quite well anyway. So obviously they didn't change it. So great. Next thing is something I have mentioned in my feedback as well, which is taken on board, which I'm pleased to say. Now this is the point where I would play the clip from that video, but it doesn't matter. It says, we have added a base payout that the player will earn for completing the mission. This means that players can earn money even without doing the optional payout objectives or prestige objectives. This makes earning money a little bit easier, helping less experienced players slightly, and the base payout is higher for showdown missions, which addresses an issue we saw in the metrics from the closed technical test, where players would earn less money in the average on showdown missions. So again, this was, I think, it was my very first point that I made in my terms of my feedback on the playtest thing. And yeah, base payout was a good thing, because if you fail all your objectives, you're getting nothing from the mission, nothing. And it just didn't seem like it was kind of like any kind of rewarding. Once you failed, you feel like, what was the point, But at least now you're going to get a base payout, which I assume is going to be 100 mercers. Originally it would have been 10, but yeah, I'll presume it's going to be 100 mercers. So yeah, a good change. Listen to feedback again, great. So yeah, cool. Next is completing campaigns. We added a large mercers payout for players that managed to complete a campaign to celebrate the effort a little bit more. We also made the reward crate item drops follow the difficulty in a more reliable way, so that the gear that is earned matches the accomplishment in a better way. So basically, the more difficult those campaigns get, the better the reward's going to be, I assume. Which again, good change. Next is payout prestige objective balancing. We found that some objectives were a bit skewed regarding reward and difficulty, so we balanced payout values based on success and popularity metrics. So I assume that they're talking about, for example, to get Silent Assassin Suit early, you'd get, I don't know, I can't remember now, I think it was 30 mercers. Whereas if you used a legendary pistol and took out the target with a headshot, you'd get the same amount. Obviously it's not the same difficulty, because the second one is obviously a lot more easy than getting Silent Assassin Suit only. So I'm guessing they're talking about the payout values of those sort of things, because Silent Assassin Suit only is obviously a lot more harder, and it's probably the ultimate kind of prestige objective. So I assume that will pay out a lot more. So that's again good change. I like it. Next is underground lookouts. In the closed technical test, we saw a lot of frustration from players failing showdown missions and thereby campaigns by being spotted by underground lookouts in ways that felt unfair. I think basically, when you have to like shove the camera in their face and take a picture of them, they've got someone following around with them, and they're lookouts, and it's just yeah. They're either talking about that, or they're talking about players being seen through walls, which I experience quite often. But it says, to improve this, we introduced a grace period so that the suspicious lookout can be dealt with before the suspect network is alerted to escape. Because as soon as they spot you, they tell the target and they escape the mission, and then essentially you don't know who the target is, and you will end up failing. It's very difficult. We also made lookouts telegraph this with animation to make it more visible which NPC is a lookout when suspicious. Lookouts are still pretty hardcore addition to be respected. Also, lookouts can still be alerted from distance, for example using a well-placed bullet impact distraction or deliberately positioned body. To support that, the player can trigger an escape scenario deliberately for a sniper strategy or similar. Again, good change. But yeah, I think overall the lookout thing, I don't think I was much of a fan of it really. It became a bit of annoyance. It says, you know, a lookout is nearby. I think it flashed on the screen. As far as I can remember, I don't remember it give you any kind of indication who it was. I could be wrong in this. I can't exactly remember exactly what it was. I don't think they showed up as like a white dot or anything like that, so I think didn't really know who it was. I could be wrong on that. I can't remember actually. But yeah, I do remember lookouts being a little bit of annoyance, you know, when you're trying to get close to a target. Next is the suspect exploit. The closed technical test helped uncover some exploits around suspects in showdown missions. Now it is no longer possible to use body containers to verify if a suspect is a target. That's quite clever, I didn't think of that. We also added a merciless punishment for eliminating a suspect that isn't the target to disincentivize the strategy of killing all suspects indiscriminately, therefore bypassing the investigation gameplay of the showdown missions. That is the first thing on this list I do not agree with at all. As these campaigns, these showdowns go on, once you get to, I think it's the 4th one, you overall have 12 suspects. Now, that was really annoying, because you had to figure out of all of those, you know, who's wearing earrings, who's wearing the necklace. It becomes very tedious and a very exhausting kind of gameplay. I did not like that mechanic of actually, you know, it seemed fun at the start, but when you do it over and over and over, it becomes very tiresome. So, having the freedom of actually just, you know, just killing them all, you know, eliminate all of them, it became a little bit of an annoyance. That's why everyone resorted to eliminating everybody, because it's just quicker and more straightforward. But now you can't do that, and now there's an active punishment in terms of your money being deducted if you get it wrong. I don't agree with that change at all. It just forces you into playing this game really slowly, and now showdowns are going to take a very, very long time to make sure you get the right target, and I just don't agree with that. I think it's very grindy as it is, and it's just going to be a little bit of annoyance these showdowns now, unfortunately. I don't agree with that change. Let me know in the comments what you think about that as well. Next, here's Collateral. It says, we added a small merciless punishment for killing innocent civilian NPCs. A big fun factor in Freelancer is that it loosens up the stances on preferred gameplay styles that the main game has cultivated and lets players try more aggressive play styles, for example, without punishing or pointing fingers at alternative approaches. We didn't want to change this, but still wanted to have the game mechanics encourage killing targets over civilians. Oh man, I gotta tell you, that's probably ruined Freelancer. I'm not gonna lie, that's such a major change. I think that's probably ruined Freelancer's fun. The big fun factor of Freelancer was the freedom to do what you want, and they're literally punishing you for playing a style that you like. I don't understand. That makes no sense to me. What's the logical explanation for that? What is the point? Did anyone actually give feedback and suggest that there should be a punishment for killing innocent people? Why? Why is that a thing? Fair enough, they're innocent civilians, but at the end of the day, if it removes the whole, you know, witnesses and stuff like that, to help you get through the objectives, it just makes things a lot more easier, a lot more fun, because it's very different from the main campaign. And this is just trying to make it feel like more of the main campaign. And I don't think that should be. I think it should be, if it's going to be its own thing, it should be very different. If people want to play stealthy and they don't want to kill innocents, then let them have that choice. You can still technically do that, but you're going to get punished for it now, and I don't like that at all. I think that's probably ruined it for me. That's such a big change. Those last two changes, inverted commas, those last two changes are not good ones at all. Next one is positive though, because it goes back to what I was mentioning earlier. The number of suspects were found to be too overwhelming on higher difficulties, so these have been scaled down a bit. I presume it's now going to be 9 instead of 12, and I don't think it will be that much of a difference, but it's still going to be a very long process, because you're going to have to scan each person with the camera to assume who it is, and In some cases, these earrings and these little necklaces are very difficult to actually see. I don't know. It's just I don't know how to feel about all this now. Actually, I'm not sure. Again, let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts. I'm interested to what everyone else thinks of this. If are these good changes or bad changes? I mean, these last few of them they're not been very spicy. Let's just say that it's not very spicy. Next thing is increased value for on-mission stashes. The stashes that are found on location have been tweaked so that they contain more valuable gear. Good change. To balance this out, there are now fewer stashes, but our hope is that they're worth exploring for. Because in these stashes, they were just like, I don't know, you had like fire extinguisher in there and just useless stuff. Like a crowbar that would break once. Yeah, they're not great items, but they're adding more valuable items to them to make it more of an incentive to actually go for these stashes. So again, that's a good change. Just a few more left now. So we have gear properties. It says we balance some prices and gear capacities for specific items based on metrics and player feedback, which is a good change. I personally give my own feedback to this as well. I mentioned that the screwdriver, for example, it took up 3 capacity slots. Say, for example, I think it's the base capacity slot is 6, if I remember correctly. I can't remember now. But there's screwdrivers dotted all over these maps. So taking a screwdriver over, for example, a lockpick. Lockpick would take up 1 slot. Screwdriver takes up 3 slots. Why would I take a screwdriver when all the screwdrivers are all dotted over the maps? A lockpick is infinitely more useful than a screwdriver. So, you know, why would I ever take a screwdriver to a mission? I think a legendary pistol only took up 1 slot as well. The poisons took up, I think, 2. So I think stuff like the emetic gun and the tranquilizer should cost more. A lockpick should cost more, so I'm assuming that's what they've done. They've probably increased the capacity slot of the lockpick to 3. For a logical standpoint, when you've got a pocket in your trousers, obviously it's not going to take up a lot of space, but if you want to try and balance a system like this, when you can take multiple items of the same thing, of the same sort of category of gear, then it makes sense to balance it out properly. Because essentially we don't want to move away from what we had in the main campaign, where you can only take 1 pistol, for example, but in the Freelancer you could take as many as you like, as long as it didn't go over the capacity level. Because in my main default loadout for Freelancer, my go-to was a suppressed pistol, a emetic dart gun, and a tranquilizer, and a lockpick, because they were useful for pretty much every situation. And I think they should still be achievable, as long as those items aren't nerfed too badly, because as you level up, your gear capacity increases anyway. So as long as the nerfs aren't too bad, it should be fine. So yeah, I agree with those changes. Well, we don't know what they are, but I assume that the screwdriver is no longer going to cost 3. It probably costs 1 now, and the lockpick will cost 3 or something like that. Next is challenge balancing. We got feedback that some of our values for challenges were ridiculously high and would frustrate completionists too much. So we lowered these to feel more reasonable, while still providing aspirational goals to shoot for. Again, good change. Tweaks on texts. We've received feedback on some of the in-game text that wasn't formulated as clearly as it could be, especially around objectives, so we've made some revisions to address that. Again, simplifying things and making things a lot more clear is obviously a good change as well. This is a funny one as well, because I did this quite a lot during the test live streams, I must admit. Alt F4 exploits. The test revealed that a number of Alt F4 exploits, similar to what we know from the elusive targets, we investigated removing these, but they can't be separated from when the game is exited during the power outage or crash. With the roguelike consequences in Freelancer, we decided to favour players that are unlucky enough to experience this. So basically, they know people are Alt F4ing. If you don't know what that is, it basically just shuts your game down on PC completely. And once you boot the game back up, you're allowed to play that same mission again. You can do the same thing on elusive targets. As long as you don't die in a elusive target, if you Alt F4, you'll be able to play that elusive target again. So the only requirements are don't die and don't complete the mission. But if you mess up anyway in that mission, you can Alt F4 and start again with the elusive targets. So it's the same thing with the Freelancer as well. And they're not changing it. They're aware that people were doing it. I did it a lot during my live streams, admittedly, because I didn't want to mess up. I wanted to actually showcase the whole entire campaign thing. So, yeah, you can do it as much as you like, basically, because those unlucky people that do genuinely disconnect or crash, they would lose all the items if they changed it. So they're going to keep it the way it is, so you can carry on exploiting it as much as you like. For those of you on console, like I am as well, you could just close the game application. So if you're on PS5, you can go back to the main menu, go back to the PS5 menu and then close the application and then restart the game. Same thing with Xbox as well. Just go to the dashboard, close the game and then restart the game, and you can do the same thing. It's the same as Alt F4ing. But yeah, they're not fixing that. But that's the last thing that was written on this page, so that's completes the blog post of changes. There's probably hidden changes in there as well that they haven't mentioned. But yeah, that's the latest information coming from Freelancer itself, and that's going to wrap up this video. So hopefully you've got a lot of information from that and took on board all these things that they've implemented. I'm really interested to know what your thoughts are as well. So that's going to do it for this video. So thank you very much for watching. Feel free to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel, just so you don't miss any videos in the future. Hit the bell notification to be notified of all future videos and live streams. Consider supporting me on Patreon or even becoming a member of the channel by clicking the join button below or clicking the link in the description for all the details of that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I shall see you in the next video. Cheers.